Hey guys, in this video we're going to look at a different kind of an equation. This is a special type of equation called a proportion, which you may or may not have seen before. I believe you see them a little bit in 6th grade, but if not, they're pretty simple to do. A proportion is basically an equation that states that two ratios, or often we call ratios fractions, are equal to each other. So if you see one fraction set equal to another fraction, that's when you know you have a proportion. And we solve proportions using a method that's called cross products, or you could sometimes call this cross multiplication. And so how cross products works is basically you follow this rule of thumb. If you know that A divided by B is equal to C divided by D, that means that the product of A and D, so this diagonal here, that product can be set equal to the product of B and C, which is this diagonal here. So basically, if you take your first numerator times your second denominator, that will be equal to your second denominator times your first numerator. Okay, and if you want to, we can go into the why of how that works during class, but for the video, we're just going to practice using that rule. Okay, so number one, we have y divided by 3 equals 3 divided by 5. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use cross products, and we're going to take this diagonal, y times 5, write that as 5y, and set that equal to our other diagonal, 3 times 3, which is 9. So now we'll write the equation 5y equals 9, and if we solve that equation for y, we need to divide both sides by 5, and that gives us y equals 9/5, or that would be the same thing as 1.8. And remember how I showed you how to check your answers on your calculators last week? Be sure you're plugging in 1.8 for y, and then checking this on your calculator. Okay, let's look at number 2. We have the quantity b minus 8 divided by 4 equals 1 divided by 4. Whenever you have a quantity, remember that there are invisible parentheses around it. So when we do our cross products here, we're going to do 4 times the quantity of b minus 8, and we're going to set that equal to our other diagonal, which is 4 times 1, so that's just 4. So that means we're going to have to distribute for this one before we start moving things over the equal sign. So when I distribute, that's going to be 4b minus 32 equals 4. And now I can first add 32 to both sides to get rid of my minus 32. When I do that, I get 4b is equal to 4 plus 32 is 36. And then lastly, I can divide by 4. And that gives me b is equal to 9. Okay, and again, check by plugging that back in. For number 3 here, we have the quantity x minus 2 divided by 3 equals the quantity of x plus 3 divided by 5. And so again, you've got invisible parentheses around the x minus 2 and the x plus 3. So when you do your cross product, you're going to have 5 times the quantity of x minus 2, and that's going to be equal to 3 times the quantity of x plus 3. So this is one where we'll have to distribute separately on each side, and then we're going to, if you can see, we'll have a variable on both sides. So 5 times x is going to give us 5x. 5 times a minus 2 will be minus 10, equals, and then we have 3 times x, which is 3x. 3 times 3 is positive 9. When we have a variable on both sides, it's always a good idea to move the variable part first. So we'll go ahead and we'll subtract this 3x from both sides first. Again, make sure you line up like terms. So these 3x's, 3x minus 3x will cancel. You'll just be left with equals positive 9 on the right side. Over here, 5x minus 3x is 2x, and then bring down your minus 10. From there, we can add 10 to both sides to get rid of our minus 10. So that gives us 2x is equal to, this would be 19, and then I need to move over here because I'm running out of room. So we have 2x equals 19, and then the last thing we need to do is divide by 2. So we get x equals 19 over 2 would be fine as an answer, or you could also say 9.5. Okay, why don't you try 4 and 5 on your own? So click pause, try each of these, and then click play to check your answer. Okay, here are your answers to 4 and 5. Number 4, you should have ended up with 55 over 6, and that answer you do need to leave as an improper fraction, because if you try to write that as a decimal, it's going to come out to be a non-terminating decimal. It's going to be 9.16 repeating. You don't want to write repeating decimals for your answers, so we'll just leave this as an improper fraction. Number 5, again, when you cross multiply, be sure you put parentheses around the 2n plus 4. And so you'll have to distribute first and then move your 10n over the equal sign by subtracting. You do end up getting -5 for this one. Okay, the last problem on your note sheet is a word problem. We'll go ahead and we'll take a look at that one in class the day that we discuss proportions. So be sure to look back through anything in this video you didn't understand. No, it was kind of a short video this time. Write down any questions you have over solving proportions, and until then, have a nice day. You're all wonderful people.